Hello, I'm Shannon, owner of Shrush Design. I specialize in hand-lettered and illustrated designs for things like signage, murals, invitations and other stationery, digital graphics, and more. I make tutorials of how to do these projects, my methods, the tools I use, and the software I use on a regular basis. For anyone who may be interested, I now also have a free companion course to go along with these videos where you can get access to additional notes, any digital downloads you may need, extra practice, and the direction of where to go once you master the tutorial. You can find that link down in the description or just go to my website www.shrushdesign.com and look for the online courses section. Okay, let's get on with the tutorial. Alright, I'm going to talk about quick shapes in this video. So, you may have seen me do this before, but I'm going to go in a little more thoroughly in this video. So, generally, if you want to make a line, an arc, a circle, a square, or rectangle, quadrilateral, triangle, and then like an oval rather than a circle, and a polyline, which is multiple lines dragged into whatever shape you want. Those are the things you can make with quick shapes. So I'm going to show you a line real quick. So if I just want to make a line, but let's say I'm having trouble keeping it straight, if you hold your pencil or finger, if you're drawing with your finger, down, you should be able to, it'll snap into a line like this, or depending on what shape you're making. I'll show you different shapes in a minute. But then you can drag and rotate and fix the size of your line, all with your pencil still held down. Now if you let go, you see edit line comes up. You can edit there, so it'll come up with little nodes here, and then you can also edit. You have more options with other shapes, but with the line there's two little nodes that you can drag around. Let's say you're drawing the line on top of something else and it went a little over, so you want to move this one over, this one, and then you want to move it down a little bit, whatever it is. So that is that. I'm going to undo with my two fingers gesture. So that's a line. You can also do an arc, so like a half circle, and depending on how far around, sometimes it'll turn it into what it calls an ellipse, but it's not a total ellipse. You see it says ellipse up here. It's not fully closed ellipse, but it's an ellipse, or technically a little longer than an arc, but you get that kind of idea. But anytime you try to start making things a little more complicated, like this, it doesn't register that. Like, it doesn't understand what like an S shape is, because it's not one of the shapes it recognizes. So you're not going to be able to like smooth out something like that. You would have to make two arcs basically. Like that. So then I kind of showed you ellipse already, but if you make a general oval shape, and then similarly you can change the size and rotate it as you want, and then you can also edit your ellipse this way. It'll come up with the nodes that you need to edit that way, whatever way you want to make this ellipse. And then circle is a little harder to get on its own. I'm going to show you a way to do that easily, but if you want a circle, you want to try to get as close to the circle as you can. See, that's still an ellipse, but if you let go, sometimes it lets you do a circle up here. This time it wasn't close enough. Yeah, see, if you hit edit, sometimes it comes up with other options. So you can hit circle, and then it makes it like a circle rather than ellipse, which circle is, the perfect amount around. It's not elongated out like an ellipse. So that's one way you can make a circle. Now I'm going to show you another way. And this can go with other shapes I'm going to show you too in a minute, but while holding the pencil down still, if you tap with another finger, it'll turn it into a circle rather than an ellipse. That way. It'll do the same with a rectangle. So again, this is a rectangle or quadrilateral. It's not even a rectangle. But if I were to do this and then hold it down with my other finger, then I get a square. Otherwise, you'd have to try to really make a square. And that's going to turn out weird because I had an extra thing there. But it has the option to make a square. And then you can also do a triangle. So made a very larger triangle, but see, I'm getting into the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is rotating. But if you want a perfect triangle, perfect square, perfect circle, you have to do the tapping thing, otherwise you have to edit up here. So I'm going to do a line, and then if I hold my finger down again, I'm able to rotate it by 15-degree increments rather than to get kind of the perfect, like if I wanted it to be 90 degrees or whatever eventually, or was it 90, 75, 60, 45, yeah, 30, you know, by 15-degree increments. Otherwise, you can get whatever angle, and it doesn't really tell you the angle. You're just kind of eyeballing it. So there is a way to do that in transformation menu, but we're not talking about that today. But if you just want to rotate something and do it by 15-degree increments, like it'll snap it to like one of the closest ones to it is, whatever it is, and then I can get it perfectly vertical there, 90 degrees, or perfectly horizontal, that would be 0 degrees, and then everything in between, or all the way around the circle. And just to be clear, because I didn't really explain this, so when you're doing something like this, and whatever you end up doing, once you let go, that commits the, well, if you have edit up here, it's not going to do it yet, but you can tap outside, and then it takes away everything, and that commits, so you're not going to be able to change that anymore that way. Like you can't get back into that menu at all, so that commits everything. You have to either undo, or you could transform it with the transform button, which we'll talk about in a different video. But as far as the quick shape menu goes, you can't do anything more once it's committed. Now I will talk about one more thing in this. So I'm using the monoline pen for this. That's because, as the name implies, the monoline is the same, the pen is the same width no matter the pressure I use, no matter the speed I go. It's always the same. Now there are different brushes on here that are, anything that has like this shape that gets kind of big in the middle are more pressure sensitive, so especially if you're using the Apple Pencil. So just to show you, see it gets thicker in the middle because I'm pushing harder. So when you're trying to make a quick shape with one of these, it's going to be harder because you have to keep your pencil the exact same, which is very hard, as you can see, because it's very thicker right there. One way you can combat this if you're using one of these brushes is if you keep going on the circle like this and let go, it'll get better. It's not necessarily perfect. But you see that that's a little better. It's a little easier to keep it the same with one of those brushes. So it doesn't work 100% all the time, but that is a way to kind of combat that if that happens to you. Otherwise you'd have to erase, you know, whatever is extra on there, or you'd have to add more too. That's what you're doing. So that's all I have to say about quick shapes. See you in the next video.